Hello everyone, this is Dr. Vikas Kumar. I hope you're doing fine and your preparations are also going fine. Well, not a lot of days to the test, very few now. So just about a month or so, you need to be at your best. Great. So we are talking about reading comprehension. In the last video, we discussed a couple of, in fact, more than a couple of, probably 3 passages, and we shall continue with the practice today, right? Very soon, we shall discuss with you what to do, what not to do for reading comprehension. Also, why? Because after getting a little bit of practice, you'll get an idea as apropos of what are you doing right, what are you doing wrong, where are you going wrong. Great. So here we go. So it begins with India is a land of various protests and mutinies. Mutinies is the revolts, the protests India have done, right? Obviously against the British rule. Our constitution secures the right of every individual to protest against the diktats of the government. Diktats means rules which are implemented without public consent. We are a land that has achieved independence after a lot of insurgents. Insurgencies, revolts, ladai jhagda, right? Our freedom fighters sacrificed their lives to ensure a free sun in India. Absolutely right. The protests by farmers are the latest on the Indian soil. The protests by the farmers, which continued for more than a year. The protests have been going on for the last 10 months, all right. So the passage is talking about the past, right? There have been several rounds of dialogue between the farmers and the government, but to no avail. So truce or patch up or compromise has still been evading both parties. The regime and the protesters have maintained their obstinate approach. The government has been obstinate according to the passage. The farmers have been obstinate, rigid, stubborn, right? Both have rather stuck very firmly to their beliefs and their demands. Then he says there are contradictory points of view naturally apropos of the protests among the masses, which is quite natural. So some people have blatantly, what is blatant? Blatant is something negative that is carried out, perpetrated, open and unashamed. So reproached the protesters. Yes, they have criticized the protesters, whereas the others have buttressed them. Buttressed means support. Much of the denigration of the protesters, denigration is bringing somebody down, right? Has been ascribed to means this is one of the reasons. What is the reason? To their disrupting the system of the nation. People claim that they disrupt the system of the nation. Is it actually true? Certain political leaders, representatives of media who build perceptions in common people have alleged certain political leaders, the media people who build perceptions, and certain common people also have alleged that these protests have been engineered with political motives. So there are certain political parties which are behind engineering these protests. Previously, India had seen the protests of Shaheen Bagh, absolutely, when lots of people raised their voice against certain government rules. Protests had also made headlines when Kanhaiya Kumar and his companions had raised slogans at the JNU campus. We're talking about the very unpopular or popular incident at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, where Kanhaiya Kumar and Umar Khalid had raised certain slogans. So they were arrested later on. They were tried for sedition, right? So Kanhaiya Kumar is here. Umar Khalid and their friends had tendentiously, who's tendentious? Tendentious is a person who is quite vocal about controversial issues, who openly expresses his or her point of view without mincing words. Oh, come on. I'll be vocal. I shall articulate what I want to say. It's as simple as that. So those people are called tendentious and openly criticized the government. Absolutely right. If you remember that celebration or that observation, this was happened on February 9, and February 9 is the day when Afzal Guru was hanged, right? So that day they had commemorated his death and chanted certain slogans, right? So Kanhaiya, Khalid and their friends were arrested for sedition. Absolutely right. They were arrested and then they were given bail by the honorable court. So there was a wave in the entire nation against the accused. Yes, people were very angry. Most of the people were very angry. But then there were two thoughts about it. And they were treated as anti-nationals and terrorists. We are not saying that they were anti-nationals or terrorists. We are nobody to judge. But what we are saying is they were treated as anti-nationals, which they were. No doubt about that. They were treated as anti-nationals and terrorists. There's no doubt about that. It is striking that in this nation, despite such a rich history of protests, we sometimes do not allow any space for protests. So, my dear friends, what is the central idea of the passage? What does the passage want to convey? Before getting on to the questions, let's have a brief round of discussion of the central idea. We begin with India as a land of mutinies, and we end with sometimes, even in such a land where we have a rich history of protests, we sometimes do not allow any space for protests. That means the author is not happy that protests are pressed, suppressed or curbed. That is the central idea. Okay, the first question, which of the following can be inferred? Now again, it should not be stated directly and must be based on facts. The first one, Shaheen Bagh protests proved contentious. Let's go back. Protest of Shaheen Bagh when lots of people raised their voice against certain government rules. What is contentious? Contentious is something that gives birth to 2 or 3 different points of view. So I will contend, you will also contend. I'll argue, you'll also argue. And our points of view will be different, contradictory to each other's point of view. That means contentious, something that is contended well, right? And it is not written there, but it is quite inferable when he says when lots of people raise their voice against certain government rules, protests. So when protests do happen, these topics do become contentious. So this seems to be the correct answer as of now. Kanhaiya Kumar was accused as anti-national. I think it is directly stated. So because it has been stated directly, it cannot be the inference. Otherwise, what have we inferred? Are you getting my point? We have not inferred anything. There's nothing like an inference if it is stated directly. The second one, rather the third one. Umar Khalid had chanted slogans at the JNU campus. Again, it has been clearly stated that Umar Khalid and Kanhaiya Kumar had raised certain slogans. So this is also stated. This becomes a fact. It cannot be an inference. Next one. Kanhaiya Kumar and Umar Khalid were booked under serious charges of anti-nationalism. This has also been clearly stated that they were tried for sedition. Sedition is anti-nationalism. So all 3 have been eliminated because they are stated. Option A makes the best choice. Next one. Who plays the most significant role in building a negative image of the protesters? Trick question. Let's go back. Where were we? Where did we find this? Here. Before answering the question, I would like you to read from here to, let's say, here. Yes. Just take 1 or 2 or 3 seconds and then read it, and then we will continue. So I hope you've read it again. Great. So if you have read these 2 sentences again, specifically from here to here, you'll get to know the answer. But the trick is that political leaders mentioned in the same sentence, media mentioned in the same sentence, common people mentioned in the same sentence, and there you go, have alleged that these protests have been engineered with political motives. Okay, and what is the question? Who tarnishes their or builds a negative image of the protesters? Political leaders, clearly mentioned. Media, clearly mentioned. Common people, clearly mentioned. All of these, wrong. So when these three have been mentioned in the same sentence, how can this be wrong? Here you need to be clear. Here you need to be active. You need to read very carefully. You need to observe well. How? Let's go back. So if I go back to this sentence again, what I see is certain political leaders, comma. Now see, who build perceptions? It is the representatives of the media, right? This who build perceptions, this adjective phrase is associated with the representatives of the media. There you go. This is a trick played by the author. And then a comma, right? Otherwise, here we would have seen a comma, which we don't, right? Therefore, this has to be the correct answer. Let's continue. So option 2, it's as simple as that. Which of the following is untrue? Protesters disrupt the functioning of the national machinery. Do they actually disrupt, or is it an allegation leveled against them? What does the passage say? Much of the denigration of the protesters has been ascribed to their disrupting. So ascribed to. He is not saying that they do disrupt. This may be untrue. We sometimes defy the space for protests. This is true. It is given in the passage. We as people rely on perceptions made by the media. This is also given, so not the correct answer. Sedition is an act that is mostly misused to implicate protesters. Also given, mostly. So this is untrue. Next one, which of the following is an apt title for the passage? Protests in India, very vague. What about protests? It is specifically about space for protests. Whether space, enough, ample space, whether it is given to protesters or not. That is the central idea of the passage. The author is disgruntled, unhappy, dissatisfied. Why? Protesters are implicated unfairly. See, Umar Khalid, Kanhaiya Kumar are only examples. That's it. The author has not shown any kind of empathy, sympathy, whatever, or compassion for Umar Khalid or Kanhaiya Kumar. These are only examples. A negative image of protesters is made. Again, protesters are not important. Protests are important. So, space for protest, not protesters. The passage is not about protesters. It is about space to protest, which is the central idea. Therefore, option D makes the best choice. So, this takes us to the next passage. All right. There has been a considerable dip in the economy since the outbreak of COVID-19. All sectors have been grappling with low returns for more than a year. ये होना ही था during COVID. So is it a mere coincidence that despite economic laws, we have been valuing lives more than we ever did? क्या ये सिर्फ एक कोइंसिडेंस है कि अब हम लाइफ को ज़्यादा वैल्यू करने लगे हैं कोविड के बाद पहले से? देखिए, जब क्वेश्चन मार्क होता है ना, that is a very important line. Sometimes questions are formed around these questions. Great. So many people, at least the ones who are urbane in education, one, and live in cities. So same people who are urbane in education also and live in cities now vocalize, articulate, speak about their concerns about the fatality engendered by the COVID-19. The number of people who discount COVID-19 as a scam, there were many people during COVID, if you remember, who would say that COVID is nothing, it is just a scam, it is just a fraud. And it has turned out to be exactly the opposite of that, right? So a scam has come down to considerably, so that number has declined now because people saw the deaths, right? So has the number of the ones who doubted the vaccination. And initially there were a lot of people who doubted the efficacy of the vaccination also. Their number has also come down and cast aspersions about its impact. More than half of our population is now vaccinated. The number of daily reported COVID-19 patients has also reduced considerably. Now it is almost gone, luckily. Almost, not completely. Does it highlight our fear? Again, a question. Are we scared of COVID-19? Really? The earlier audacity. What is audacity? Audacity is extreme courage, maybe dussahas in Hindi, has given way to more rational behavior, again by some. So it is not being scared. It is getting away from that audacity, doing away with, that courage, that quote unquote stupid courage, that stupidity that I'll move out without a mask. What has caused this rational behavior? What is the root cause of this sensible behavior, logical behavior? Number of beds occupied by COVID-19 patients. The mortuaries. What are mortuaries? Where bodies are kept in hospitals. जो लोग मर जाते हैं, उनकी bodies. Media में जो खबरें आई, and then the experiences narrated by others. All of these created such an atmosphere. So ये सब अकेले mortuaries ने नहीं, ना अकेले media ने, सब कुछ. Whatever has caused this rationalization, जिसने भी किया है, it has certainly made us think. Economy improve की जा सकती है if we remain alive. That is the most important thing. Simple as that. Human beings are not only sources of production, and human health is an end in itself. You, I, your neighbors, your friends, my friends, your family, my family. We are not only sources of production. We were not born to produce goods, or strengthen the economy only. That is there. It is needed for survival. But that is not the only thing. Our health is equally important. And it is another target, another aim to keep India healthy. This must be spread among the uncouth. Who are uncouth? People who live in not so urban places, or the ones who, despite living in developed or prospered places, have failed to internalize or understand or accept the significance or the importance of human health. तो ये आइडिया उन तक भी पहुंचना चाहिए जो अनकूथ जगह पे रहते हैं या देहात में रहते हैं, और उन तक भी जो डेवलप्ड सिटीज में रहते हैं या रिच हो चुके हैं, और उसके बावजूद दे हैव failed to understand the significance of human health. They must be made aware about it. Now, which of the following is inferable? Quite easy. This is a mere coincidence that despite economic lows, we have been valuing. Let's go back to the passage. Yes, this is the question mark, the first one. I told you there could be a question. All sectors have been grappling with low returns for more than a year. Now, there is a question. Is it a mere coincidence that people have started or begun valuing their lives more than they ever did? Is it a mere coincidence? आगे क्या बताते हैं वो तो बता रहे कि नहीं, ये coincidence नहीं है. People were shocked. कैसे shocked? Mortuaries. People were sensationalized. Media experiences. Number of beds occupied. So it is not a mere coincidence. After people saw many people dying of COVID, तब वो सुधरे. So it is a mere coincidence. ये तो हो ही नहीं सकता. It runs contrary. It is not a mere coincidence that despite economic lows, we have been valuing our lives more than we ever did. This seems to be a very good choice. We doubted the efficacy. If we talk about this option, then here we go. This has to be eliminated because this is stated. It cannot be inferred. Right? So we doubted the efficacy. Next one. Mortuaries are efficacious at sensationalizing. This is a very good and very difficult choice. Mortuaries are efficacious at sensationalizing, but did only mortuaries sensationalize? Some people say it is not written only. Okay, agreed. Let's say there are 3 people who have murdered somebody, A, B and C. Can I say that A murdered him? I cannot, because B and C also murdered him, right? Okay, so mortuaries, media, and experiences narrated by others, they all sensationalized us. So this is also eliminated. Next one. People, okay, which of the following is wrong? People who are urbane in education live in cities. Looks like wrong, because people who are urbane can live in villages also. Urbane in education, शहरों के मैनर्स वाले, शहरी मैनर्स वाले लोग, sophisticated लोग तो कहीं भी रह सकते हैं. Why do they have to live only in cities? Wrong ही पूछा है. Looks like a very good choice. All still do consider human beings as means of production. अब ये all आ गया. Although it is an extreme choice. वापस चलते हैं. It is an extreme choice. But देखें, देहात, डेवलप्ड और प्रॉस्पर्ड प्लेसेस में जो रहते हैं वो भी, तो सब तो इंक्लूड हो गए, फिर बचा क्या? ऑल ही बोल दिया उन्होंने. इसलिए ये इट इज राइट, इट इज गिवन देयर इन द पैसेज, hence cannot be picked because we have been asked to pick the wrong option. We were audacious apropos of COVID-19. This was stated. बाद में हम सुधरे. ये भी stated है, so ये भी नहीं pick कर सकते. Many people lost their lives to COVID. ये तो लिखा ही था. Which of the following is a good expression in the context of COVID-19? Fear is sometimes good, which makes sense. दिया भी था अंदर. Human beings are not machines. This is not the central idea. Or in fact, from the point of view of COVID, because COVID did not ask us to work. चलो मेहनत करो. COVID ने तो नहीं बोला मेहनत करो. Right? So machine वाला तो concept ही beyond the context गया. Thank God we had COVID. We cannot thank God for COVID. शुक्र है भगवान तूने कोविड दिया, इतने लोग मर गए, इतने लोग और मर गए, इतने लोगों को लॉन्ग कोविड हो गया, उनकी मेमोरी कमजोर हो गई, शुक्र है तेरा, हम सुधर गए, लेकिन ये सब जरूरी था. We cannot say so, right? None of these also is the wrong choice. Option A is the best choice. Which of the following is correct? Richness does not ensure appropriate realization and awareness. Why? Prospered have failed to understand human health. The fear created by mortuary did not make us rational. The fear created by mortuary, media, and experiences narrated by people made us rational. Same logic जो पहले भी किया था. Second wave improved us a great deal. Wave ने थोड़ा improve किया हमें. Economy is unexpected to be given a great importance. No. We don't know anything about it. Therefore, even this cannot be the correct choice. Which of the following is an apt title, a very good title? The significance of human health and our realization looks to be a good choice because, see, COVID is only an example. The passage is not about COVID. The passage is about human health and our realization. See? Read this sentence. Take a minute or so. Read it. Then tell me. Then think. What did you understand from this? This must be spread among the uncouth other ones, right? So, significance of human health. That is the central idea. COVID is just an example. Positives of fear. If we talk about positives of fear, then we would have talked about various forms of fear. Not at all. Right? Okay, the line, the earlier audacity has given way to more rational behavior, again, by some, highlights that punishment cravers do not understand talks. This means लातों के भूत बातों से नहीं मानते. We wasted a lot of time doing what? Very vague, ambiguous, has a lot of meanings. We lost many lives to fatal diseases like COVID. Which other diseases have been mentioned? None. We cannot pick this one either. Now there is a trick option, which is probably the most difficult to pick. In the first glance, in the first glimpse, looks like the best choice. Look at D. We are people who are in deep slumber. What is slumber? Neend. And COVID-19 has shaken us out to spread universal and eternal awareness. बहुत अच्छा ऑप्शन लग रहा है. कोविड आया, उसने हमें जगा दिया. But does it make sense? We are people who are, were नहीं, are in deep slumber and COVID-19 has shaken us out. Does it make sense? हम सो भी रहे हैं गहरी नींद में और कोविड ने हमें जगा भी दिया है. It does not make sense. Had it been were, then this could have been a very good choice. This is called a trick option. कुछ options ऐसे होते हैं my dear friends which look like the correct answers in the first glance. वो देखने में ऐसा लगता है अरे वाह यही है correct answer, पर हमेशा वो आंसर होते नहीं है. So you need to read the answers, you need to read the options, not only the passage, the options very 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 minutely. बहुत carefully पढ़ेंगे तब ये हो पाएगा. Right. That will take us to the next question. All right. The Sati system was abolished by the British in the year 1829. Correct. Gayatri Spivak problematizes this in her essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? Gayatri Spivak is a very renowned author. So, in this essay, Can the Subaltern Speak? She problematizes the abolishing of the Sati system by the British. So she questions their intent. Now, when the British abolished the Sati system, we all thought, the Indians thought that it's a wonderful step. It's a wonderful action taken by the government, the British India government. And we applauded. But do we know the intent? Although the action was quite good, it was correct, it was the right step taken, it was needed. But was it the way we looked at it? Was the intent the same? The intent was to establish themselves as our leaders. The intent was to justify their presence in India. The intent, the aim was to make India feel that we are better leaders. We are better leaders. You need us. Otherwise, you will kill yourselves. So you need our help. You need our leadership in order to maintain law and order and a good, social structure. So, she said, she presents that behind doing whatever good the British did in India, there was a clandestine motive, a hidden motive. They wanted to justify their presence in India. Correct. Edward Said, in his book, Orientalism, also broaches some similar tenets of the powerful. एडवर्ड साइड ने एक बुक लिखी है ओरिएंटलिज्म. नाउ द कवर पेज ऑफ दैट बुक, उसमें एक न्यूड इंसान है और बुक का टाइटल है ओरिएंटलिज्म. नाउ दैट न्यूड जो डिसरोब्ड कह लीजिए या न्यूड कह लीजिए, जो मेल है उस बुक के कवर पे, ही इज सिम्प्टोमेटिक ऑफ the unculturedness of the people who have been subjugated by the Europeans. So Edward Said said that this is the thought that was spread among the masses. Whenever Europeans went to a country, in fact, whenever Europeans subjugated a nation, ruled a nation, the first thing they did was they proved that the natives were uncultured, uncouth. The natives did not have the acumen or even the common sense or even a very good culture. Thus, they could never lead themselves. They needed good leaders. They needed educated and sophisticated leaders. And for that, British were the best choice. The Europeans were the best choice for that matter. So see, okay, and what purpose does it serve to them? Well, if the powerful goes to a particular place, right, colonizes the natives, it is understood. It becomes a covenant, an unwritten covenant, that the natives will not protest against the powerful. Why? Because they are made to believe that we need these people. They are better leaders than us. We cannot rule ourselves. We need such people, right? Let's continue. He argues that the Western people misrepresented the Africans, absolutely correct, as inferior, even biologically inferior, and incapable of ruling themselves. Both these and many other cultural expose and highlight the tendency of the powerful to validate the dominance. So whenever the powerful people colonize the other people, they validate, they justify their presence. Right. This jeopardizes, endangers, the dignity of the oppressed, their women, their livelihood, and most destructively, the desire to engineer a mutiny or insurgence. So it is like you make the person believe that I am right for you. You don't need to protest now. You should not look to be in power yourself. Why? Because I'm there for you. I'm a better leader than you. You should stay where you are. So जब ये thought किसी सोसाइटी में, किसी कम्युनिटी में आप प्रिवेल कराने में सफल हो जाते हैं, then people don't protest. You are the unchallenged ruler. So one such example was seen in India when we validated the caste system in the name of religion. जब religion के नाम पर हमने caste system को validate किया, Brahmins were accepted as the most superior people who could read and recite Vedas. Kshatriyas were the determined fighters, warriors. Vaishyas were given the role of trade, and Shudras were ordained to live the ordeal. Ordeal is a very difficult life or misery of all menial, low-paid jobs, or lowly considered jobs, low considered rather, and lowly rewarded tasks. Naturally, it was further declared and propagated that in the forthcoming lives, Shudras could be born as high if they served the other castes well. तो ये उनको सिखाया गया that आप अगले जन्म में हाई कास्ट की तरह जन्म ले सकते हो अगर हमें अच्छे से सर्व कर दोगे तो. So that they remained good servants. Shudras further stratified, divide कर दिया themselves as Dalits and non-Dalits. Shudra में से ही Dalits और non-Dalits निकले, and the dominance of one over the other persisted. So this dominance, caste वाली dominance, see, ये intra-Dalit भी है, वहां पर भी hierarchy है. There also you have the concept of power. Power सब जगह है. दलितों में भी ऊपर नीचे है, hierarchy है. Great. Which of the following options can be inferred? Dragooning is an important element of stronger, weaker dynamics. Tough है इसके questions थोड़े से. Dragooning क्या होता है? जबरदस्ती कोई चीज कोई करवाना किसी से is an important element of stronger, weaker dynamics. Now again, my dear friends, you need to read the options very carefully. Why do we have this hyphen? This छोटा सा hyphen here. Did you understand that? Hyphenate करके आप एक word बना देते हैं. So ये stronger, weaker dynamics बना दिए. ये dynamics जो हैं, those are not stronger और weaker के, दोनों के अलग हो सकते हैं. एक कैसे हो सकते हैं दोनों के? It has to be the dynamics of stronger and weaker. So ये option गलत हो गया. कोई भी stronger, weaker dynamics जैसी कोई चीज exist ही नहीं करती. Stronger के dynamics अलग हैं, weaker के अलग हैं. The theory of karma is responsible for the weakness of Dalits? Not at all. The theory is not responsible at all. How can a theory be responsible? The theory of karma gave a wrong direction. Similarly, wrong answer. A theory cannot give a wrong direction. People can. So the theory is not responsible. People are responsible. The people who belong to the lowest castes exploit their own people. No doubt about that. And Savarnas are directly or indirectly responsible for this. Correct, because the genesis of casteism, this was formed or rather among the high castes, the Savarnas. So they are directly or indirectly responsible for the birth of casteism. Which of the following is an apt title? Manipulation and violence as weapons of the powerful, survival of the fittest. This comes quite close to being the correct answer. Manipulation and violence as weapons of the powerful. But is the passage only about the powerful? No, it is not. So incomplete. Survival of the fittest. Validation of dominance. This also seems to be a very good choice, but then validation of dominance for what reason? For survival. Widespread dynamics of power. Not at all. These dynamics are different. Not the same. Same dynamics are not widespread. Survival of the fittest. Life is actually survival of the fittest. If you're strong, you'll survive. It's as simple as that. Which of the following is true? All Shudras are not Dalits. Yes, that is true. All Shudras are not Dalits. He said so also. See, Shudras stratified themselves as Dalits and non-Dalits. All Shudras are not Dalits. All Shudras are at the same social echelon. Echelon is social ranking. No, when we say stratified, then they are not at the same echelon. The theory of karma has been a universal and global. He has not mentioned America, the theory of karma in America, UK, Russia, like that. So how can it be a global weapon? The modus operandi of all oppressors is same for at least similar. Not at all. Modus operandi is the method of operation. It is not the same or even similar, because in animals there is no manipulation. It is only exercise of power. The British, in abolishing the sati system, harmed India, as after they justified themselves in India and we accepted their rule. Actually, we never accepted their rule. We did not do so. Slyly took the advantage of women, because had we accepted, how would the mutiny of 1857 have taken place? Where does Bhagat Singh come from if we accepted their rule? We did not. Slyly took the advantage of women who were saved and emerged. No, they did not emerge. They tried to, but we did not let them emerge as our champions. Did something very good. Absolutely right. They did something very good that Indians could not do. There are two things here. It is not written Indians could not have done. That would have meant कर नहीं सकते थे. इसका मतलब है कर नहीं पाए, which is correct. हम नहीं कर पाए. Abolish उन्होंने किया है. So did something really good. The most dangerous element of oppression is the dignity of women is endangered. बहुत important है. Successful validation of oppression, the livelihood, ये भी mentioned है. Violence causes great threat to their lives. Let's go back जहाँ पर ये बात है. Okay. Let's continue. All right, can the subaltern speak? Where did we see this? See, women are endangered, dignity of women, livelihood, most destructively, desire to engineer a mutiny. So, successful validation, right? Successful validation of oppression is the correct answer. If this is done, the other three are automatically done. Right. So, let's continue. आगे वो कहते हैं कि the Indian edifice होता है complicated system, which is very difficult to understand. Excuse me. So, the Indian edifice of caste and social hierarchy is seen even among animals. ये चीज animals में भी नजर आती है. Forests dominated हैं by animals like lion, tiger, other host-dragon, powerful animals. सिर्फ डिफरेंस क्या है कि उनको कर्मा जैसी डॉक्ट्रिन्स की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती एक दूसरे को मैनिपुलेट करने के लिए या फूल करने के लिए. वो सीधा पावर इस्तेमाल करते हैं, ना रेशियल सुपीरियोरिटी कि तुम बायोलॉजिकली कम हो हम ज्यादा है. वो तो सीधा अटैक ही करते हैं. बिगाइल करना होता है मिसगाइड करना, तो वो उसकी जरूरत ही नहीं उन्हें. They just force the weaker into submission. Animals हैं. It is therefore palpable. Palpable means absolutely clear. It is palpable that in both cases the manner varies. The manner varies. But dictats, tyranny, coercion, जबरदस्ती किसी से काम करवाना, subjugation, submission are eternal elements, absolutely, of society. So these elements will always be there in society. The powerful has many ways in which he or she can exercise authority, absolutely right. One who's powerful has many ways in which he or she can dominate others. And the weaker, well, he or she doesn't have many choices. Manipulation and violence are the weapons of the powerful. Manipulation and violence are the weapons of the powerful. No doubt about that. Therefore, the best choice is this. Right, let's move to the last question. A detailed reading of the passage essentially, specifically and broadly confirms इनमें से कौन सा. अब बहुत ध्यान से we need to read the first option. Violence and manipulation are interwoven with each other to be powerful. It doesn't make any sense. Violence and manipulation are interwoven with each other to be powerful. By whom? Incompleted, doesn't have a meaning. Eliminated. Next one. Weapons like violence and manipulation may help the weaker become powerful. Not at all. These do not help the weaker become powerful. But once you're powerful, you have these at your disposal. So this is not the correct answer either. remains unlimited. He's talking about animals. He's talking about Dalits. He's talking about foreigners, Indians, British, other Europeans. Therefore, it is unlimited, goes beyond boundaries. Okay, so thank you. I hope you've been able to understand every question clearly and every passage clearly. And very soon we shall meet you again. Until then, keep studying, keep learning, keep improving. The exam is approaching. Bye-bye. Take care.